And I am your co-host, Benard Otieno. In today's episode, we are going to specifically focus on the Luo tribe and their famous musical instrument, nyatiti. Now, what is nyatiti? Now, before that, and I am your co-host, Benard Otieno. In today's episode, we are going And I am your co-host, Benard Otieno. In today's episode, we are specifically focusing on the Luo tribe and their famous musical instrument, nyatiti. That is what we told you about, or we said, or we promised last week. What is nyatiti? But before then, hey, I hope you're gonna love this. That is it for today. Now, I know that we promised to talk about nyati. Yeah, aye, aye, koth biro, kelurudo kedala. Joey. So, this is my Orengo and my famous, my famous, my famous, my famous hat that was being worn by the chief Ramogajuang. Who is Ramogajuang? Ramogajuang is our great grandfather, or the great grandfather of the Luos, who he was the great chief of the Luo community, the great chief who led the Luo community all the way from South Sudan to Kenya. They were traveling in a slow-mo way, Kindem. We'd say that. But while reaching Uganda, some dropped around the Uganda region. Some people can become tired. Some will say, me, I'm so tired, I'll drop along the way. Some dropped along the way in Uganda. Kindem. Some came to Kenya. Some said, I'm still not yet tired, but I'll still walk all the way to Tanzania. So some went and settled in Tanzania. So that's the short history of the Luo community in a nutshell, their travel. When we came to Kenya, or when the Luo community came to Kenya, they settled around Lake Victoria. Around Lake Victoria, they were fishing. No, their economic activity was what? Fishing. They also did some minor or microeconomic activities such as farming, selling, biashara, business, hapa na pale, here and there. Yes, so that is it. But our main, or the Luo's main economic activity was fishing. And I think the Luos have this problem of pronouncing, their challenge, the main challenge of the Luos since time immemorial. Time what? Immemorial is the pronunciation of SH, that is, instead of pronouncing sh, they will pronounce they will pronounce it as So instead of saying it as it is, Kenyan shillings, they will say Kenya shilling. Kenyan shilling. So that's the most trivial challenge that the Luo community are facing in the current or in the previous generation. Now, I have just elaborated or I have just told you about a brief history of how they entered into Kenya. And when they came to Kenya, uh, there arose some great people like Jaramogi Oginga Odinga also used to use my Orengo here. Jomo Kenyatta, he used to be a great friend to Jomo Kenyatta. Tom Mboya. So those are some of the great heroes within the Kenyan or within the Luo community as a whole. I don't know if you're loving the story. If you're loving the story up to that point, let me know them. Or let me know down in the comments below. Secondly, we are going to talk something briefly about Kenyan music. Or not Kenyan music, but specifically the Luo music. The Luo and their music. The Luo and their music, the Luo and their dance, and then the Luos and their nyatiti. We'll crown it with that. So in the Luo community, music was specifically used to pass information. Music was not just being sung, it was being sung for the sake of conveying an information, or maybe it was being performed to entertain, or it was being performed to bereave the bereaved. That is just consoling the bereaved. That is what I mean. To bereave the bereaved, to console those who had lost a loved one. Music was being used. That is Bodo. Bodo in Kijaluo, Kijaka. Now, Kijaka is a sheng that is used that is used by the local. It is a local dialect in Kenya, I think. Local dialect in Kenya, Kijaka, but Kijaluo. Kijaka is a sheng name for Kijaluo, and Kijaluo is the language spoken by the Luo community. And what else do you need to know? In other words, what were we talking about? The Luo and their music. Music is used to entertain. It was also being used to incite. Music was also being used to incite. You can incite a community against another community, or a man against another man, or a Luo against a Luo. Music was being used to incite. You can incite someone to fight by using music. Music was also being used to just educate, like Kotbiro, Kelurudokidala. I don't know if I can sing, but yeah, I can sing. I know I can sing. Not that I don't know, I know I can sing. If I hit some right notes, nitakuwa pale kwenye nini, inaitwaje? Nitakuwa pale kwenye studio nikirekodi some good music for you guys to listen to. Now, you know, when music was being used to entertain, educate, and to incite in various ways, so music was not just being performed without some dances. We have dances such as Ohangla. Ohangla is a type of dance where Drums have to be hit, ding. Then there has to be nyatiti, and then there has to be some guitar being played. Then there has to be dancers. Did I say dancers? Yeah, there has to be dancers dancing, gyrating their hips. And then, while dancing, there has to be some owalo. Yeah, kitambo, long ago, there used to be owalo that was being tied around the waist. Owalo is just, uh, owalo, itrabolo. Itrabolo is could be used as owalo. Itrabolo is just, um, banana leaves. They were being tied around a rope, then tied around the waist region. Then these dancers were dancing, while could move in a rhythmic way, for lack of a better word, like this, around their hips. Owalo do this way. Owalo, owalo. That is as they dance, and they used to dance with a lot of energy. Yeah, that is to convey their happiness, to convey, that is during weddings, wedding ceremonies, and also to convey their sadness during teruburu, rapar. Teruburu and rapar, that rapar is remembrance. Remembrance, that is the birthday of a burial. Yes, did I say birthday of a burial? Yani, when someone died, then it takes 1 year and it rolls back to the same year, oh no, the same date in another year when he died. Like we human beings who are still alive, we celebrate our birthday. Now, in the past, our forefathers, they used to celebrate rapar. Rapar is just remembrance of the dead, remembering the dead, remembering of the dead. Yeah. After 1 year has passed, and then you will do a celebration. Is it really a celebration or a ceremony? Yeah, I think it's a ceremony being conducted to remember the dead. That is it. That is Rapara I was talking about. And then Teroburu is also the same, taking dust, taking back dust. I don't know how to call that in Kizungu so that you guys can understand, but Teroburu is just a direct taking back the dust is just a direct translation. Translation. Oh, translation of Teroburu. You get it? Nice. How many are still with me? Up to that point. You're still together. You're still together. Yeah, that is Ohangla. Ohangla now has really revolutionized and it has transformed the music industry. Today, you can see some beautiful musical dance within, not Nyatiti, but within Ohangla industry. People like Udongo Swag, Prince Hinda, they have really made Ohangla an interesting music to entertain yourself with. You don't want to miss this because Ohangla is being embraced by each and every community in the world. You can find some Mzungu somewhere listening to Ohangla without even understanding the real meaning of such words that are being pronounced there or are being sung there or are being used in that music. But hey, the rhythm, oh my God. Ya, ningekumbuka hiyo muziki, ningewaimbia, lakini mimi si muimbi. Quiero waduti wacha wacha mama. Yeah, so that is Ohangla. And then that's Ohangla is a type of dance, by the way. And then Now, secondly, we have another type of dance that is known as dodo. What is dodo? Dodo is a type of dance that incorporated old ladies within the Luo community. The older ladies would do what? They would dance in a slow-mo way, in a slow-mo way. Then he incorporated what? Nyono. Ongega nyono, nyono, nyono. Lindo ongega nyono ball. But in that nyono, nyono is just a Luo word that means stepping. But nyono, nyono, ongega nyono, nyono is a bit faster, but in a slow-mo way, nyono. Ongega nyono ball. Linda knows how to step what? The ball. Yeah, so that is dodo. And then secondly, we are going to talk about Ramogi dance. Ramogi dance. Now, Ramogi dance was being used to no, Ramogi dance is used to portray or to convey or to just give the Luo community their cultural identity. Their cultural identity. Now, Ramogi dance incorporated things such as Orengo. It also incorporated things such as Owalo. And I remember what I told you about Owalo. Yeah, not only banana leaves were used, but we could also use some side salt twine that is nicely colored, beautifully colored, to then tied around the waist. Then what? People dance to it. Ongega nyono nyono, lindo ongega nyono ball. Yeah, so that is the dance about, that is Ramogi dance. It was being used to give the Luo community their cultural identity, and then next, this dance was also being used to educate or to pass knowledge from what? Generation to generation. During Ramogi dance or during Ramogi, the Luo, nowadays we have things such as the Luo cultural festivals where Ramogi dancers would come. They still, the Ramogi dancers still exist. They still do. Yeah, so they would come there and then dance in such a kind of way, or in a particular kind of way, and then by dancing in that particular kind of way, they would pass information, they would pass knowledge, they would entertain, they would educate. Hey, educate! My goodness. Education, the traditional form of education was really nice, I think. You really didn't have to go to sit in a boring class for a whole 1 hour listening to someone telling you about his success, like our lectures, man. Say, hey, let me cut off the topic in your MBA, something about hey, lectures sometimes would bore. Would do what? Sometimes lectures were really boring, man. You just sit there, a lecturer want to tell you about how he went to Uganda, how he's building some big mansions in Kitengela, how he's been to Paris with a nice woman. Yani, those are the things being taught in a lecture lesson. But when you come to the Luo community, they would teach you a particular lesson using Ramogi dance. Imagine Ramogi dance. Yani, you are being entertained as you learn. Just imagine someone is dancing and is teaching you in that manner, as opposed to just going and sitting, going to listen to someone who is sometimes they're stressed, they're coming to pass down that stress to you in a class. Hey, but here we do it in Ongeganyono way. Really nice. Now finally, we are to talk about, so that's a brief history or a brief story, a brief lesson about the Luo community and their dance. What else haven't I told you? Yeah, we've said the economic activity was what? Fishing, yeah? And then nice. What else haven't we talked about? We've said all the things. Now we are specifically going to talk about Nyatiti. Now Nyatiti is an 8-stringed music, but you can see beside me I have my guitar. This is not Nyatiti. I just didn't have my Nyatiti around, but since we were just talking about music in general, I decided to bring my guitar along. Mr. Guitar. Yeah, so it also has its voice. It can speak. It can convey information. Now Nyatiti is an 8-stringed musical instrument that was being played only by the Luo men in their community while they were sitting on a short stool known as Ten. Ten was a very short stool. Someone would sit. You would think that this person has squatted, but in reality this guy sat down. While sitting, this guy would open the thighs and then, but this thing, it is believed ritual and spiritual. So it is believed that if you want to give them, I don't know, but yes, I know, if you want to make the dead happy, if you want to make your ancestors happy, only if you are allowed to touch the Nyatiti, because Nyatiti was not being touched by any other kind of person or any woman. It is also believed that someone would bewitch your Nyatiti instrument if you leave it anyhow in the field. Someone would bewitch it. You see, Nyatiti was being used to entertain also, aside from being used in appeasing the dead. I think appeasing is entertaining the dead. And also, Nyatiti now, Nyatiti employed some drama. Nyatiti performers would employ some dramatic what? Some dramatic, yeah. Now, Nyatiti performers, sometimes they would employ some dramatic actions in their performance. Someone would just abruptly stop singing and he would walk along carrying his Nyatiti. That time he would have come up out of his ten. Atakuwa ameamka kutoka kwa hiyo ten yenye alikuwa amekalia, and then he would walk along and he would walk around as he narrate some of his experiences while directly having his eye contact with the audience. Eye contact, like you would say things such as, Omera, chieng moro ne nadhi kia aora Jordan. Chieng no kanadhi aora Jordan naromo gi liech maduong'. Namako liech gi lakini ariyo kama nayiecho. Some things something like that. So he would perform while carrying his nyatiti. He would not leave it behind because it is believed that women were not supposed to come near, touch the nyatiti, leave alone coming near it. If you if you are a woman and you touched that nyatiti, it is believed that you would do some, you would bewitch that nyatiti in some kind of way. You would affect your man, you'd affect the man, or the men in the society by simply touching nyatiti. This nyatiti was so dangerous. If you'd touch it, you'd affect the offspring. Those who are to come, they would not even come. Like me, I wouldn't have been here if the women in the past touched nyatiti, because they would affect the manhood of their men. It is believed so, because there's this story that I am going to finish with. This young boy, a young man approached the elders in order to consult the oracle. Now, let me finish with this story. A young man, a young Nyatiti performer by the name Otieno describes his relationship with the Nyatiti, or his Nyatiti, as follows. My Nyatiti is me, and I am my Nyatiti. My spirit flows in it, and its spirit too flows in me. If I go anywhere, I go with it. If I leave it down, someone would bewitch it, or a woman might touch it, and if it is touched by a woman, oh my God. Kitu nilisema tamu the other day. Now, let me finish by giving you this short story about Otieno. Now, Otieno describes his relationship with his Nyatiti as follows. My Nyatiti is me, and I am my Nyatiti. If I go anywhere, I go with it. My spirit flows in it, and its spirit still flows in me. I cannot leave it down, because if I leave it, it might be bewitched, or it might be touched by a woman. If it is touched by a woman, my manhood will be affected. And when my manhood is affected, I will not be able to perform again as a man. And I will no longer be a man again. Now I hope you know the performance Otieno is talking about. That tells you the what? That tells you the stereotype, the gender stereotype within. That tells you the gender stereotypes. That tells you the gender stereotype that was existing within the Luo community. Women were not to come anywhere near Nyatiti. Nyatiti is a spiritual instrument, meaning if women came near it. Now imagine if Otieno is saying that if a woman would touch his Nyatiti, no childbearing for him, meaning we Luos in the current generation, if women in the past, we should appreciate these women, because if women in the past touched that Nyatiti, as Otieno puts it, we would not be available, or we would not be around by now, because the men in the past, their manhood would have been affected, and then they were not to bear children, meaning we were not to be born. Just imagine, they would not be able to sire children simply because their women touched the nyatiti. Thank you. I'm saying, or I'm on behalf of us all, the current Luo generation, we are saying thank you to the former women in the Luo society because you did not touch that nyatiti. We wouldn't have been available, or we wouldn't have been not available, but we wouldn't. Hatungekuwa kama mngeshika nyatiti kitambo, mngefanya tusikue, kwa sababu the men's manhood, that is, they wouldn't be able to bear children simply because women touched that nyatiti. Now, I didn't tell you that Luos, after coming to Kenya, they are now they are spread across the country, or not only the country but across the world. There's no country that has no Luo in it. Please let me know if your country has no Luo in it. Down in the comment section, yeah, there are Luos everywhere. And nyatiti also, we can now see nyatiti being performed by the women in the society. Currently, women can now touch nyatiti and our womanhood are not being affected. We are still siring children in this current generation. And then we are now seeing women in the Mogi dance, that is, or Hangla performance, that is nyatiti, being performed by women. You see, women were not to open their legs kitambo, and when you open your legs, nyatiti was being performed only when you open your legs, and women were not allowed to do that. But now, women are now allowed to wear trousers, and now they can easily do that. So thank you for listening to my story. See you next time, same place, same time. And Maiva, take it over.